everyone. Happy Friday. I just wanted to come on. It's been a long time since I have done a live, and I wanted to just spend some time with you. I'm getting ready for tonight. We're actually doing family photos, and so I feel like I'm relearning how to put makeup on. Does anyone else feel like quarantine has really taken away from your ability to know how to be a normal functioning human in society? So that's what I'm doing. But just wanted to see, how is everyone doing? Which I know is such a loaded question these days and just so hard to even start to answer. One thing I wanted to talk about that I shared about on the podcast this week, in case you haven't had a moment to tune in, was all about my journey in launching and creating digital courses. Someone said, what's makeup? LOL. Totally agree. So on the podcast, my team member, Kylie, who is the producer of the podcast, interviewed me all about course creation. And it was so hilarious and so fun to go back down the road of where I started from all these years ago. And one of the stories that I tell on the podcast is how I used to be an avid listener, and still am, to my friend Amy Porterfield's podcast. And it was actually where I got introduced to podcasts. I didn't even realize at the time that our phones had a podcast player built into them. So every single week I would go to her blog and figure out what her episode was and hit play. And it's so funny to this day, anytime Drew hears Amy's voice, he's like, oh my God, this brings me back to our house when you would put your phone into a cup and listen to her podcast in the shower. And there's no shame in my game that I listen to podcasts in the shower. It's like the only time where I can be really focused. And so we were just laughing so hard about that. But I was an avid listener to her show, and I found this email that I sent to her years ago before she ever knew I existed. And it went a little something like this. It said, hey, Amy, you don't know me. My name is Jenna Kutcher. I am a listener of your podcast and a huge fan. I am a paying student of yours in both of your paid programs. I love what you do, and I wish that you could be my business coach. So let me know if that's a possibility. And I was very, very gutsy. And it was hilarious because I was looking through emails the other day and I stumbled upon that, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is crazy and embarrassing, but also super awesome, because I'm kind of like in the train of thought, like if you don't ask, you'll never know, right? And I texted a picture of that email to Amy, and she just died laughing. And she's like, but really, how cool was that version of Jenna Kutcher to just reach out like that and, kind of say, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I want to do. And at the heart of that email was basically me saying, I know that I need to invest to learn about, to learn what you do. I know I need to really pour in financially and with my time to understand how you do what you do so that I can do the same. And so, I was like, that Jenna was very smart. Cheers to that, Jenna. This is actually bone broth in here. It's like my new lunch, because when you're busy, sometimes I forget to eat. So bone broth. Cheers. It's way better than it sounds. My dad the other day was like, bone broth? What is bone broth? I'm like, it's really good, Dad. There's good protein in there too. Anyways, so back to that episode. Amy Porterfield, people are saying, which Amy? Amy Porterfield, who is now a dear friend of mine. But in that podcast episode, which if you haven't gone to listen to it yet, go to golddiggerpodcast.com. You can check it out. It's really good. And it's just a fun, informal conversation where I kind of outline my whole history with launching programs, what they look like, what I've learned over the years. And so anyways, the whole point of this is that my friend Amy Porterfield actually just announced she's doing webinars coming up, and she only does these webinars once a year. And the webinars that she's doing are literally like the trainings I used to attend and how I became a student of hers and now turned friend. Wow, I got a little aggressive there, didn't I? And so anyways, these free trainings are all about course creation, how she creates courses, the 5 behind the scenes secrets to annual recurring revenue, like revenue happening year round. And I'm so excited about these trainings because it not only reminds me how far I've come, but it also shows me how much learning I still can do, right? Me and my team, our entire philosophy is that we are forever students. Like, we're never going to be done learning. We never want to be done. Like, how boring would life be if you're like, cool, I know everything. Now I'm just going to sit here knowing everything, right? And so whenever Amy does her webinars or her launches, I am like still forever a student and fangirl of what she does because she's the best of the business. So if you want to join me for one of her trainings, you can go to jennaplusamy.com. Actually, you know what? Let me type that in so that you can see it. So jennaplusamy.com. And what she's going to be doing is she's doing live trainings where she's teaching all about digital courses. And I can tell you that I learned so much of what I know from her. And she is literally the best in the business. I got a sneak peek of what she's going to be teaching on her training. And within the first 5 minutes, it's like mind blowing. Like, it's going to just kind of help close some of those gaps that you might have. Anyways, if you guys have any questions right now, I still have time. I got to do my eyes, about digital courses or the podcast episode, if you had a chance to tune in, or Amy Porterfield, or any questions you have, shoot them at me and I'll do my best to answer while I am putting eyeshadow on, because you know what? Awesome. Claire McGuire says, signed up last week. Amazing. Cannot wait to be there with you. And I can tell you that there are no better webinars to Amy's. I mean, mine are really, really awesome too, basically because I learned how to do what I do from Amy. Awesome. Okay. So Rooted and Restless says, what email provider do you like best? Okay. So this is a 2-part answer. So if I were to start today, or if I had like a small list that I was building, because you listen to Jenna Kutcher's Gold Digger podcast and you know how important that is, I would 100% without a doubt start on Flowdesk. If you go to jennakutcher.com/FLODESK, maybe someone wants to type it in the comments. You can save 50% on your subscription. So I think it's $19 a month, and it's created by 2 women who are incredible and friends of mine. But beyond that, it's beautiful. And I started my email list years and years and years ago. And at this point, our funnels are so like complex and our strategy is so deep that to switch over at this point, it would be really, really hard for me. So I use Flowdesk to design our emails, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it as a good starting place. We also have an amazing challenge. So if you're somebody who's like, I need to build my email list, if you go to listbuildchallenge.com, you actually can gain access to a bunch of tutorials and templates inside of Flowdesk for free. And I walk you through how to grow your email list from 0 to 250. So if growing your email list is something on your radar and you're like, I don't know where to begin, I don't know how it works, that Nicole in Love with Life says Flowdesk. It's FLODESK. Somebody typed it in. I saw it. Chirp Chick Stuff. Thank you. jennakutcher.com/Flowdesk. FLODESK. Okay. Next question. If you don't know what your course could be about, where do you start? And this question is coming from Pima Jacala. So if you don't know what your course should be about, where should you start? So the first thing that Amy teaches, and we actually just kind of outlined part of this on the podcast itself, is you want to think about what you are the go-to person for. Meaning, when people come to you and they're like, you're the person I needed advice from, or I knew I needed to do this, what do you think about it? That is what I would start to think about. So a lot of times what I've realized after coaching so many different students is that we are so close to our own genius that we often don't recognize are gifts. Like the things that are so common sense to us, so like, duh, that's the stuff that people are trying to find solutions for. And so one of the best ways that you can figure out how or what you would teach a course about is to ask the people that love you the most, what are my gifts? Throughout our quarantine process, we have been spending a ton of time with our neighbors. So we basically quarantined our own little bubble up here in the North Woods. And I was teasing them because they would totally be people that would say, I can't teach. Are you kidding me? I don't know anything. And we were together for one weekend, and my neighbor Simone is from Brazil, and she speaks Portuguese. I barely speak English. And she was teaching us words in Portuguese. And I was like, oh my gosh, she could do like an intro course to speaking Portuguese. They also run a very successful Airbnb. I'm like, she could create a program about Airbnb. Her husband, Andrew, is an amazing sailor. He has a sailboat. He took Drew out and was teaching him how to sail and the terminology. I'm like, dude, he could create a course on like beginner sailing or like how to speak sailing. And it was just funny because I was like, I know those objections, but I also know that so many of the things that we love or that life has taught us or that just come naturally to us, those are the things that you could take and turn into a digital program. And the thing that I think a lot of people forget about, that 2020 has taught us, is that people want quick solutions. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't have time to ingest a 50-hour program to learn something. Like, give me the like 1 to 2 hour like masterclass in mastering something and teach it to me quickly. And so if you are beginning in course creation, do not feel like you need to create an 80 module, 70 page workbook. A lot of times people want to learn something from start to finish or learn something that will get them results within an hour. Like if I could take a nutrition course that would teach me intuitive eating starting points. Like I don't need to learn the science. I don't need to learn everything. I just want to learn like the signals that my brain and my body are connecting. I would love to take like an hour-long class to get started. And then maybe down the road, I would take that giant curriculum masterclass. But a lot of people I feel like are hesitant to start online courses because they've maybe taken a program that is like 800 modules long, or they've seen those kinds of programs sold and they're like, there's no way, I don't have enough content. But can you hit the hearts or comment if it's you where this year you're like, I just want like cliff notes, take me from A to B. Like for example, we have been potty training Conley and I had to read this book about the Montessori method for potty training. I'm like, dude, if I could just watch like a 1 hour webinar that just walks me through all this, tells me what I need to buy, tells me what cues to look for, that's what I would buy. Like I would invest in that. And so I want to encourage you. Amy teaches that there are different types of programs. So there's like the signature course, which is like the whole shebang. But then there's a beginner's course, which might just be like an hour-long course that you sell for $20, $30. That's $20 or $30 more than you had, and that's scalable. That's like the first time you can not just trade your time for money, right? Like that's got to equal something to you. So if you've never thought about course creation in that sense, I hope that opened up your eyes a little bit. So send me another question. I'm ready. Let me see if I can look at questions in here. Okay. Aw. Beautiful Chaos Shop says, loving that sweater. Thank you. It is from Abercrombie, actually. Nicole in Love with Life says, how is the fastest way to raise the budget? Let's see. I have a topic, but Corona hit us hard with money. What is the lowest budget you need to start with your program? So to build an online course, there are different ways that you can do so for very little expense. So a lot of programs you already have on your computer. A lot of things you already have accessible like at your fingertips. And so I just don't want for you to think that in order to create or teach, it has to be expensive. You could do a Facebook group and go live in there and teach for free. So don't let like budget hold you back from getting other people results. I think that's one of the biggest things. I realize I have a call that I'm supposed to be on in like 2 minutes. Okay, let's see. Do you teach the biz behind course creation? That's a part that shuts me down. Casey Blair. So sign up for Amy's webinar, JennaPlusAmy.com. Sign up there for real, because that is what Amy is going to be teaching. And that's where I learned so much of what I do. I actually just took her program, Digital Course Academy, like last month. She just redid the whole thing. And I was like, let me in, let me see. And she is the best in the business at this. So sign up for that webinar so that you can learn the business side of course creation. Also, sorry about this gross Band-Aid. We are doing fertility testing. And so this morning I had to do blood draws based on where I'm at in my cycle. So anyways, gross Band-Aid. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to answer one more. Let's see here. Okay, do you have stats on conversions? Coach Den Meza says, yeah. So usually if you're doing a webinar launch, 30% of the people show up. So if you have 100 signups, usually 30% show up. And then usually, hopefully, you're aiming for 10% purchasing. So 3 purchases per 100 subscribers. And so that's a really broad like industry look, but it's a really good gauge. And then usually you'll get more sales throughout when your cart is open, because people will get the replay and they'll get your information via email, which is super cool. So I hope that that's helpful in answering that question. Okay. Let me think if there's anything else. How do we get you as our coach? My friend signed up for your course earlier this year, but now it's closed. Well, stay tuned, Casey Blair. We're working on some cool things in partnership with Amy. I just really appreciate her work and love her as a human being. And so there's some really good things coming. And if you want to make sure you're aware of them, I would just say sign up for Amy's webinar and then you'll start to get some of that info. Jennifer Price says, what's a 50% flow desk? So it's jennakutcher.com/flowdesk. First website to build from. So I use Showit. I'm a huge fan of Showit. If you guys ever want to know my favorites of anything, jkfaves.com. It has everything from food to fashion to skincare to makeup to software, jkfaves.com. That has everything. It has a ton of coupon codes and things like that, as well as affiliate links, which I am forever grateful for when people use affiliate links, because that helps support me and my family and allows us to share more things we love with you. Okay, anyways, I have got to run because I'm 2 minutes late for my phone call with my business coach, Dean Graziosi. Hopefully he's watching this and he can see that I'm live and serving you. But just wanted to encourage you today, sign up for Amy's training. I will be there. Study it. She is the best in the business. And I'm creating some really exciting things that I'll be sharing soon to link arms with her on this upcoming launch, because she 100% changed my life and I am just hoping the same for you. So sending you guys so much love. Have an amazing Friday and I will